Wow, I'm late. I'm late this morning. I'm the late Lon Milo DuQuette. We're going to talk about the rite of Jupiter today, and I've got a few toys out from Rites of Jupiter Past. And I've posted a couple of musical things a little earlier on. If you scroll down my Facebook page a little bit, you'll see that I've shared with you the Gustav Holst Jupiter from the planets. And I've also shared with you Carmina Burana, O Fortuna, from Carmina Burana. And I've also shared just now the Fugs version, or the Fugs classic song, Ramses II is Dead. Each of those songs figured and were played at various rites of Aloysius and the rites of Jupiter that we mounted over the years with Huru Raha Lodge OTO and other OTO bodies over the years. And so we're going to talk about the rite of Jupiter today, because that's today is Thor's Day. And we're talking about the rites, and we're taking them in order of the days of the week. So today's Jupiter's Day. This funky mask here, it was a Dionysian mask, and Constance laid paper mache over my face, which I'm sure gave her no end of pleasure. Many, many years ago when we painted it, stuck it on a stick, and full of skins and other things. And it seems odd to, in the celebration of Jupiter, to have so much Dionysian trappings and Dionysian themes for the rite of Jupiter. But as I said at the very first, when we started talking about these rites, that even though each of the planetary spheres involved is represented and celebrated by each individual rite of Aloysius, the real dynamics of what's going on in the rites is the fall, or the transition from the planetary sphere to the next one in consciousness. And so for the rite of Jupiter, yes, there's tons of Jupiter stuff, as we will see, and Zeusy kind of stuff. But the real action is where Jupiter, I guess we'd have to say, sacrifices itself to give birth to the other planetary gods and goddesses. So Jupiter will, on the tree of life, will go from 4 to 5, which is Mars, and then from Mars to Sun. But in the mythology, Jupiter incarnates himself upon himself, I guess you'd say, in the form of his son Dionysus. The story being that, Jupiter was really a frisky guy, and he just loved running around making love to anything, everything. He was, being the king of the gods and the first manifestation below the abyss, he was willing to just copulate with everything the firmament. And one of his girlfriends was the daughter of the who was it? Was it Peneus, the daughter of fountains? Anyway, he fell in love with Semele, who was a nymph. She wasn't a god per se on the level of the Olympian gods, but just sort of a regular daughter of a nature spirit of the rivers, I guess. Yes, whoever the river god was. Anyway, but because he was a god and so high up in consciousness frequency, that if he actually showed up with his clothes off completely, it would fry her to death. Okay, the mortal could not handle that kind of energy. So when he snuck into her room on a regular basis, he really put on his thickest Macintosh, lead-covered pajamas, okay, just to keep from killing her if she looked at him full force. And they both had a wonderful time, and they both were just pleased with the arrangement. But Semele's sisters said, "Oh, gee, you fell for that old line. All the guys that creep into your room at night tell you they're God, just so you'll shut up. He's not a God, you silly girl." And so that planted doubts in her mind, and so she asked him. She said, next time he crept into her room with his lead pajamas on. It wasn't lead. Just don't listen to me. But if you do, she said, "Susie, do you love me?" "Yes." "Oh, I love you, baby." He said, "Well, if you really love me, why do you wear all of these clothes and stuff when you creep in?" He said, "Well, I can't tell you that. He said, I'm a god. If I showed you what I look like, it'd be dangerous." And she says, "Are you really a god?" He said, "Of course I am." "Well, then prove it. Take off your pajamas." And so she made him swear that he'd do anything for her as part of the thing. And he said, "Sure, baby, I'll do anything for you, baby. I swear on the river Styx, I'll do anything for you." And she said, "Well, then show me your unadorned radiance." And so he goes, "Oh, it was an oath. Oh, I'm a god, but I gotta do that." So he takes off his clothes, and she starts to sizzle like bacon. Okay, and as he was saying, "I told you so," she says, "Wait, I can't burn up. I forgot to tell you, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant with your baby." And Zeus goes, "Oh my God." Okay. So because he's God and could do anything, I don't know why he didn't just turn back the clock and save her, but instead of that, he reaches into her womb and he pulls out the baby. And to keep the baby alive as it matures, he shoves it in an opening in his own thigh. And as the baby grows, it's the baby Dionysus, and it has horns. Of course, because it's a god, And as it grows, the horns irritate Zeus, and he's at, a board meeting of the Olympian gods, and looking at the charts and the accounts and stuff, and he said, "And I'd like to say that next season," because it's Dionysus is in his thigh. But anyways, so Zeus is in a sense born of Dionysus, or Dionysus is born of Zeus in this miraculous manner. And that's the main part, or at least the most colorful part of the rite of Eleusis. Zeus and Jupiter, states his wonderful wheel-like stuff in the first section. But in order for Zeus to manifest to people, there needs to be the God-man between Zeus and the people. In the same way that Jupiter, Jove, Jehovah, needed a son in the old Osirian Christian myth, needed a son to mediate between the Father. Jesus, okay? Dionysus, Jesus. Jupiter, Jove, Jehovah. Now, I know that was a roundabout way of doing that. So part of the Jupiter rite is this wonderful Maenad Dionysian revelry. And this is where you see all in Greek art the Maenads and the revelers carrying thyrsus, pine cones on sticks, very reminiscent of the pineal gland and the spine. And this is one from an early rite that Steve Abbott helped us fashion just a ton of these things. That snake that you see on there, I guess you're not seeing it very well. I must have had a lot of time on my hands because I put on a pair of sunglasses and went out into the backyard with a magnifying glass on a sunny day, and with the light of the sun burned the outline of this snake. So the sun burned that snake on here, and then I very carefully, I think with a paper towel, or I may have had a brush of some kind, then I stained the snake on there. So, and one of the Maenads carry tambourines as they dance around. And this is Ludwig, a Ludwig professional tambourine that I bought in 1964 for my band, the Panics, and Constance, using the artwork from the Tomb of the Leopards, which I believe is an Etruscan tomb, adorned this thing. So that's St. Constance's painting. And my Ludwig tambourine. Okay, that being said, here's the rite of Jupiter. And this is the book that we did used as our first script. And these are my notes from the first time we did this. And I want to share them with you. October 7th, 1982. Haruraha Lodge OTO presented the Rite of Jupiter. The officers are Kentrim in Kentri Trigono, played by me. The Sphinx was Constance Jean DuQuette. Hermanubis was our dear friend, and I hope you're watching, Victor, still, Victor Coleman. Typhon was David Wilson. Perfect for David Wilson. Hebe was, David Wilson is later wrote as Jason Black. Hebe was our friend Linda Russell. Ganymede was Leroy Lauer. Agave was Karen James. Atone was also Linda Russell, did a double part. And the Maenads were Lucy Noble, Shane Taylor, our dear friend Sharon Sanders. And the Master of Ceremonies was Doug James. Among the guests were Caliph Hymenaeus Alpha 777, Grady McMurtry, who the Saturday before this played Saturn at the Rite of Saturn in Berkeley. And Chandria, who produced the Rites and got the Rites going again, a Berkeley OTO important member, she attended too. So the characters are Kentrim in Kentri Trigono, or the center in a center in the center of three. Black robe and a big swastika. And it's not a Nazi swastika. It's the whirling motion. It points the other way too. The Sphinx in a green robe. Hermanubis in a violet robe. And Typhon in a red robe and carries a two-pronged fork or sword. There's Hebe and Ganymede, who are cupbearers and dancers. There's a shitload of Maenads and other revelers. The temple is actually the Wheel of Fortune. It represents the Wheel of Fortune. At its axle is the altar. So the altar was right there in the middle, in which sits CICT. On the rim is the Sphinx in the east spoke, Hermanubis at the northwest, and Typhon at the southwest. Hebe and Ganymede are seated at the feet of CICT, and to the west of the wheel is a veil. So if you can imagine, if you staged it like that. And about the thing, above it is a thing sort of like an ornate shower curtain that when the time comes and they want to put a veil around the altar, that you can pull that curtain so that people watching it can be in three, like in a theater in the round kind of thing. Okay, the Nox, because this is Jupiter in the fourth Sephira, the Nox are all four. So, and the Sphinx answers. Okay, the 963 is red. I'm not going to read the 963. It's the Pisces section, which I believe is called the 12-fold humiliation. I think that'd be perfect for Pisces. Oh, it's even better. The 12-fold bewilderment of God. Okay. There's lots of bowls of libation. So there's a lot of drinking in this rite. And what we do, where it's pauses for every libation, we would have music, and usually this was mounted outside in an outside venue. We'd have music, and everybody would drink as they circled the circular altar. So everybody would, and after a while they'd drink and dance and drink. It became very orgiastic. Okay, but we'd do more than just drink. Okay, and usually it was bubbly water or bubbly wine, champagne or spumante. But every other libation was water. because part of the secret of Dionysus was that you mixed waters. You drank water and then alternated with a drink of wine. Okay, that way you could maintain a constant and increasing alcoholic buzz without driving yourself prematurely unconscious. Okay. Welcome to the banquet of the Father of the Gods. Bear the bowls of libation. Okay, then Hermanubis gets up. Now to see that P there, that's the Hermanubis on the sigil, on the abbreviated sigil for this. Hermanubis would then be the ape on this. And Typhon would be the crocodile. And the Sphinx, of course, would be the Sphinx. Be silent and secret, for it is by stealth that we are here assembled. Know that Saturn has been deceived, having swallowed a black stone, thinking it to be his son, the child Jupiter. But Jupiter is here enthroned and shall overthrow his father. Beware lest ye break silence until Jupiter be ready to make war. Okay, and in the sequence of the rites, Mars will be the next thing. I'm only going to read a couple of the short poems for this because I've already digressed myself out of our time limit this morning. So, but here's how they identify themselves. We've got Jupiter himself, which is called Kentrim and Kentri Trigono, sitting right in the middle, in the hub there. And around him are the other three officers. Typhon says, "Hail unto thee, thou great god Hermanubis. Art thou not the messenger of Jupiter?" And Hermanubis says, "Hail unto thee, thou great god Typhon. Art thou not the executor of his vengeance?" Brother Hermanubis, or Typhon says, "Brother Hermanubis, what is the hour?" Hermanubis says, "Noon." "Brother Typhon, what is the place?" "The summit of the Mount Olympus." Hermanubis, "What is thy position?" "Upon the rim of the wheel." "And thine?" "Upon the rim of the wheel." "Let us seek the center of the wheel." And then they get up, those two officers get up, and they start to circle the wheel, just the circumference of the wheel, and it becomes a comical act. They go faster and faster and stumble over each other on their togas and everything. Okay, so they can't get to the center of the wheel by staying on the rim. "Oh, we are no longer near the center of the wheel. Hast thou no message from the gods?" "None, brother. Let us seek an oracle of the gods." And then they go to the Sphinx. "Hail unto thee. Hast thou the secret of Jupiter? Declare unto us, we beseech thee, the mystery whereby we may approach the center of the wheel." And the Sphinx, okay, just plays her violin, or we put on riddling, sarcastic music. And I think we always use the entrance of the Montagues and Capulets in Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet, which is riddling and sarcastic. And Typhon, that music freaks Typhon out. Okay, it just freaks him out. But Hermanubis digs it. And the Sphinx says, "Neither by sloth nor by activity may even my secret be attained. Neither by emotion," Typhon, "or reason," Hermanubis, may even I be understood. How then shall she come to the center of the wheel? And Hermanubis says, Mother of mystery, what is thy position on Olympus? And she says, on the rim of the wheel. And then, from the center of the stage, Jupiter himself, or CICT, says, feeling, thought, and ecstasy. Okay, so that would be feeling Hermanubis, feeling would be Typhon, thought would be Hermanubis, and ecstasy would be the Sphinx. And he says, feeling, thought, and ecstasy are but the cerements of me, thrown off like planets from the sun. Ye are but satellites of the one. But should your revolutions stop, ye would inevitably drop headlong into the central soul, and all the parts become the whole. Sloth and activity and peace, when will ye learn that ye must cease? Now, if you're looking for what's the secret of Jupiter and everything else right now, and you need to get home from the Rite of Eleusis early, you could leave right now, because that's the freaking bottom line. Typhon says, but how should I cease from lethargy? And Hermanubis says, how should I quench activity? And the Sphinx says, how shall I give up ecstasy? And CICT says, what shines upon your forehead? And they all say, the eye and the triangle. What burns upon your breasts? The rosy cross. CICT then says, brethren of the rosy cross, aspirants to the silver star, not until these are ended can ye come to the center of the wheel. And of course, those three characters are also the three gunas of Hindu mythology. Then CICT speaks a poem, and I'm going to read that poem. It's Crowley's. When the chill of earth black-breasted is uplifted at the glance of the red sun, million-crested, and the forest blossoms dance with the light that stirs and lusters of the dawn, and with the bloom of the wind's cheek as it clusters from the hidden valley's gloom, then I walk in woodland places, musing on the solemn ways of the immemorial places shut behind the starry rays of the east in all its splendor, of the west in all its peace. And the stubborn light grows tender, and the hard sounds hush and cease. In the wheel of heaven revolving, mysteries of death and birth, in the womb of time dissolving, shape anew a heaven and earth, ever changing, ever growing, ever dwindling, ever dear, ever worth the passion glowing to distill a doubtful tear. These are with me, these are of me, these approve me, these obey. Choose me, move me, fear me, love me, master of the night and day. These are real, these illusion. I am of them, false or frail, true or lasting, all is fusion in the spirit's shadow veil. Till the knowledge lotus flowering hides the world beneath its stem, neither I nor God life showering find a counterpart in them. As a spirit in a vision shows a countenance of fear, laughs the looker to derision, only comes to disappear. Gods and mortals, mind and matter, in the glowing bud dissever. Vein from vein they rend and shatter, enter nothingness forever. In the blessed, the enlightened, perfect eyes, these visions pass. Pass and cease. Poor shadows frightened leave no stain upon the glass. One last stroke, O heart-free master, one last certain calm of will, and the maker of disaster shall be stricken and grow still. Burn now to the core of matter, to the spirit's utmost flame, consciousness and sense to shatter, ruin sight and form and name. Shatter, lake reflected spectre, lake rise up in mist to sun, sun dissolve in showers of nectar, and the master's work is done. Nectar, perfume gently stealing, masterful and sweet and strong, cleanse the world with light of healing in the ancient house of wrong. Free a million mortals on the wheel of being tossed. Open wide the mystic portals and be altogether lost. And the four officers, or the three officers, other officers, give a single knock. Oh, I desire that to begin the banquet. Okay, and then there's more poetry. Typhon says his thing, Hermanubis says his thing, and eventually Jupiter calls for the veil to be pulled, and there's an incredible exchange of poetry, and then the invocation of Dionysus begins, using the theme of the Maenads and the death of when Hebe and Atene, when their king, son, and nephew. It's comes from the Bacchae. In other words, Crowley draws heavily from the play The Bacchae, and Dionysus eventually appears on the stage, and Jupiter's gone. But anyway, that's as much as I'm going to confuse you with today on the rite of Jupiter. I know, let's see, how far have we gone over time? Oh my God, I apologize. Tomorrow we'll pick up with something else. Let's go to Venus, I think, is probably... Anyway, until tomorrow. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.